Dumb
and weird.
podcast.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I believe that. Yeah, I mean, Australia is one of those places that I kind of want to visit, but I kind of don't at the same time.
So, to go into what the new, like how it's been like revamped past the flat Earth theory, is there's a belief that in 1770 the British just sailed off into this part of the ocean and came up with a mythical land called Australia, and they just been dumping prisoners in this part of the world forever, and that apparently all the nations of the world who hated each other historically at this period of time went up with this cover up for some reason.
Yeah, but I just don't see how that would fly for too long because, I mean, you can literally look at satellite view. Well, they probably don't think satellites are real.
Well, no, because but no, they don't. They believe that that's also a myth.
All right, so I think this is like kind of interesting because the flat Earth thing you brought up about religion has been like a catalyst. Quite legitimately, over 5,000 years ago, in like the Jewish Bible, it actually talks about the Earth. Yeah, the Torah actually talks about the Earth being round. So they knew then. They said actually referred to it being a sphere. So they understood this and also understood that like made references about the Earth revolving around the sun. How ironic is it that for some reason religion, modern day, or I say modern day Christianity, 1,000 years ago Christianity, they used to get persecuted for saying that the Earth was round. That was like heresy.
And also that it was also heresy for the Earth to revolve around the sun.
Interesting.
That's true. That is actually that is true. They used to kill people.
Yeah.
Oh, look at me. Someone failed.
I failed huge. Sorry.
This is airplane mode. Don't fix that. Well, it's okay.
It's okay.
It was bound to happen at some point.
Yeah. So we'll just keep going though. It's all good.
It's all good, but
Sorry about that. No, that's cool.
So what else have you discovered about the flat Earth theory?
So the interesting thing about these people is they keep trying to disprove gravitational theory. They keep trying to, law of gravity, really, because it's a law, it's not a theory. And they keep trying to disprove the laws of physics, too. And the way they keep doing this is by doing these dumb little experiments where they take, like, they'll literally go to, like, a place and they'll look out and they'll be like, oh, look, you look at the horizon. The horizon ends right there. But what they don't realize is that it's actually an optical illusion with how the with like when you perceive something with your eyes. And so it's like your eyes are very unreliable, and that's why we use instruments to figure out the curvature of the Earth.
Yes.
So that's like one thing that they try to do. But a really funny thing that happened like a couple years ago is they tried to disprove that the Earth was round or a sphere. And what happened was they actually ended up pointing to it actually being a sphere when they did their experiment, which was
it was in
really
that
fun.
documentary.
Yeah.
They used a laser to do it, which was actually that was pretty fun.
Yeah, and
It's
actually
also like light bends.
Yeah.
That's what people don't understand. And light bends even with gravity.
yeah.
Well, I spent a little time online arguing with some flat earthers for a while, and
Was it Shaq?
not particularly, but I realized pretty quickly that it was kind of a waste of time. But one of the things that I would talk about is like one of the things they would particularly mention is how does the ocean, if it's round, how does the ocean stay put? And I was like, well, gravity. You're trying to explain how gravity works with the gravitational pull from the center of the Earth. And the best way I could explain it to them, and they still didn't get it, is if you take a bucket and fill it with water and you spin it really quickly. It's like think of the Earth is spinning 1,000 miles per hour or something like that.
I think it spins at
It's about 1,000 miles per hour.
Is it 1,000?
Yeah, and so you think about a bucket, spinning that fast. Of course, the water is gonna, cohese to the center of it.
A good
Still didn't get it out of it.
Well,
Didn't
but
work.
a really good experiment that they do on the space station to prove that gravity exists is they show how molecules, specifically like big clumps of like water and dust and stuff, what they'll do is they'll throw it up in the air. And what it'll do is they'll be floating freely, but then eventually what will happen is they'll start clumping together, making like almost like a sphere like object. And that's because of the gravitational pull eventually pulls it together and it starts having a clumping effect. And that's kind of how our solar system formed. Billions of years ago. It was from like a clumping effect with the accretion disk from the sun. Basically.
Yeah, they actually said that in the space station. when they actually, the first time they've ever made a perfect sphere was actually in the space station. Because of it being in space, everything's weightless, so it bonded to itself, like the water bonded, and they actually have pictures of the perfect sphere. And you're right, by the way, it is roughly 1,000. It actually makes a lot of sense because we have 24 time zones, and if you think about that, like if you do the math behind that, it's roughly about, they said that's what it says, roughly 8,000 miles. I feel like I should know this as Satan.
Yeah.
I should know everything.
Well, I mean,
Lucifer is the light bringer. You should know all the knowledge. Okay?
Telling you.
I mean, he's got things to do. All right, got to cut him some slack every now and
Stay
again.
busy.
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus decided to crucify himself to forgive us of all our sins. and
We're
all
friends
we do
now, by
is-
the way. Me and Jesus, we're friends.
Are you guys hanging out?
We hang out now.
So why were you
He
trying
brings
to lead
the
him?
wine.
Shop talk. You know, you gotta.
Whoa.
Why were you trying to lead him astray in the desert all those times?
I mean,
Was this to fuck with him? or-
we had a little animosity towards each other.
Okay.
And now, I mean, we still do, but I mean, you know, he brings the water and turns into wine for me. I get sloshed. He makes sure I get in an Uber.
That's not a bad setup.
So how much
He's
does
still a giver.
How does an Uber cost you anything in hell if you own it?
Why do you think I'm always in hell?
Keep your friends closer and your enemies closer. You know. Plus, I mean, if you're a deity at that level, I mean, who are you gonna identify with? You know,
So
you gotta have friends who know your true pain.
Look, I'm only scared of one person, Hillary Clinton.
okay, that does make sense. So do you feel like she's going to take over your super Detroit Chicago atmosphere?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
that is kind of threatening.
Scares the hell out of me.
Well, there you go. There you go.
News from hell.
News from hell. But you know what I think's interesting? I think the only time that these people are really gonna like
Yeah.
be like cockroaches underneath a rock and they're not gonna be relevant anymore is when space travel becomes like very commercial, where people are constantly going into space. You know?
Yeah.
People are too stubborn. People are too stubborn. They're still going to argue their point. They're going to be like, look, that's obviously a picture. I'm not going to go into space. And the pictures you're bringing back, that can't be real. Because we've had pictures of, like,
Yes.
the spherical of the Earth. And I mean, like, curvature of the Earth is easy to prove. It's like the easiest thing to prove. But yeah, they can't accept it. That's like the most basic of basic.
Yeah.
They do come up with a lot of mental gymnastics on how this is not real. Like they will create their own set of knowledge just to disprove you.
Yeah.
Well, it
Well,
goes, it
dig
goes
in that
into
hole.
confirmation bias, which kind of relates to all these conspiracy theories. Is no matter what you want to believe, you're going to find some sort of confirmation bias or some sort
Yeah.
of list of things that sort of lead you in the direction, even if it's not objective truth. You know, you're gonna find someone or someone to be like, yeah, it's not shaped that way, and or you know whatever you personally believe, you're gonna find somebody on earth to agree with you.
Yeah.
Especially with the internet, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's true.
Should be worrying though, because these people have kids. And those kids go to school, and those kids know your kids eventually. And then your kid has to bully that kid.
You gotta learn somehow.
Yeah, and that's pretty much like the it in a nutshell when it comes to the flat Earth theory. It's basically just a bunch of like a lot of people what they say it is. It's kind of like the same level as the Bigfoot people. They're just a bunch of lonely guys who probably haven't gotten laid in a very, very long time, and they have nothing else better to do but talk about flat Earth theory. Because that's the theory behind the Bigfoot people too. The people who really believe in Bigfoot, they wear like the hats with the the accessory cargo shirt, and they actually both kind of look the same too. I've kind of noticed that too.
They got the cameras
Yeah,
just
they
in
got the
case they see Bigfoot.
Bigfoot.
Like, in
I see
whatever
Bigfoot.
bumfuck town they're in.
It's like that episode of South Park where they were trying to find the Chupacabra.
Yeah.
and they're like, oh, it's a Chupacabra, we found it, like that, and then their mouths are all like exaggerated and shit.
That's good.
It's honestly, it's the only way that you can say that name right is if you do that. I mean, let's just be real.
Cryptids, however, like that's the most fun. Those are the most fun conspiracy theories, if you ask me. Because, I mean, technically, just because they don't have evidence doesn't mean it doesn't exist in a sense of like other creatures that haven't been discovered. And
Well, the thing is, a lot of these creatures existed. They just weren't like what they're saying they are. Like for instance, Bigfoot. They've discovered a skeleton over in Asia where it was like basically like a gigantic orangutan. It was like
something Pithecus.
something like that. Giant Pithecus. It was like an ape that was like 4 times bigger than a human. Like this thing was freaking massive. So if you're thinking about like a Bigfoot, I mean that's probably about the closest you're gonna get to something like that. And
Most likely.
Yeah, same thing with like When people talk about dragons and shit, I mean, a lot of people think that when people, like ancient people, when they talked about dragons, what they really were talking about were they were finding dinosaur fossils, and they were like trying to make sense of those fossils,
Or Komodo
Yeah.
dragons.
Yeah, no, that's actually like the funny part. I like the stories about how we disprove the Bible, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But quite legitimately, they talk about dragons over and over again in the Bible, and the term dinosaur. I could be wrong, but I'm not.
Terrible
know.
lizard.
Yeah, they were that name dinosaur didn't come into existence until the 19th century. So that's, if you think about that, that's pretty recent.
And the funny thing is, most dinosaurs probably didn't look like lizards. Most of them looked like more like what we would consider like a bird.
So do you
Yeah.
think Nessie is a plesiosaurus?
Maybe.
See, I'm not even
Plesiosaurus.
against thinking that like that could possibly be real. I mean, when it comes
Yeah.
to, if we want to be honest, like we know more about space than we do about the ocean.
Yeah.
Still,
exactly.
so
Yeah, we thought the colossal squid was a conspiracy, like made up creature,
found
and
it.
they found it.
yeah, I mean, that was recent too. That was like in the last 50 years.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some megalodons and some other things in there because
Could be.
they do
There's a
sonar,
lot.
but I mean,
They do say that the problem with the megalodon theory is how much it would have to consume.
Well, to sustain a population, I think you need like 32 individuals to sustain a population. So you'd have to have at least 32 males and females.
But they do always have these very large shark sightings along South Africa.
I mean, it's
See,
possible.
I mean, that's the thing. I can't really get behind the shark thing. I think that would cause so much damage to a population that would be like seen.
Yeah.
Sharks are not super deep water. Most are not super deep water.
Well, and I mean, but it's
They'd
not,
have to
it's
consume
not only that. Megalodons were competing with water dinosaurs too for food. So that's why like that food chain works in that way, because there was other large creatures in the ocean with them that they were competing
Yeah.
for
right.
food with.
To go back for a second for the Bigfoot,
Yeah.
I'm not going to even try to say the name of the giant orangutan they found in, but the height of it was 12 feet tall. That's a big boy. The women folk were 9, and the women were weighing around 600 pounds, which I feel like that's pretty slender for, if you think about it.
Well, technically, with today's body positivity, she could like get in there with 600 pounds, my 600-pound life, and do great.
The males were 42% heavier than the women. So that's 1,000 pounds?
It's 1,000-pound animal.
Yeah.
1,000-pound gigantic orangutan.
well, since
Yeah.
we're back to Bigfoot, I remember hearing some like, it's kind of just hearsay, I guess, at this point, but something about the Native Americans sort of had oral traditions about.
They
certain-
gave him oral.
Yeah, you know.
That and the Wendigo.
The Wendigo, yeah. But no, supposedly the Native Americans had oral traditions about Bigfoot or like a large, I guess you could say,
Ape-like
orangutan.
creatures?
Yeah. So, I mean, another version of the Gigantus Pithecus or whatever could have
Like a story that was passed down from, because I mean,
Yeah.
humans have been around in our current form for like 100,000 years or something like that. So
I mean, maybe in your belief.
yeah. So what?
In your belief, I mean,
Oh, you talking about like young Earth creationists?
Yeah, that's a very interesting one too.
That's another conspiracy, right?
Yeah.
well, conspiracy. All conspiracies are conspiracies until they're proven that they're real.
No.
Oh, all a conspiracy is two people that sort of plan something against somebody, really.
No.
kind of what we were planning with our one conspiracy theory, which involves an MMA fighter if we can get him in on it.
Yeah.
Well, Michael Moore.
Yeah.
I mean, my thing is, so my one conspiracy theory that I have is that actually Michael Moore is Rosie O'Donnell. That she's dressing up as a man.
But wait, why not the other way around?
Have you seen him, Shim?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I haven't seen
Have you
Rosie
seen him in the
O'Donnell
same
in a long
place?
time.
I've seen Michael
you're
Moore.
right.
He's the only one I'm not going to let into hell.
So wait a minute. Why wouldn't it make sense though? That Michael Moore is the guy is dressing up like Rosie O'Donnell every now and again.
No, Rosie O'Donnell is dressing up as Michael Moore
Yeah, no, but I'm saying why can't it work the other way around?
because I know things.
Okay, Satan.
I know things.
Yes, sir.
Both have penises. It doesn't matter.
Or
You
what?
can confirm this, right?
Or today it's not technically out of ordinary to have a female penis. Apparently,
An Audi.
yes.
I've
an
seen a
outs-
couple Audis on the
an-
road today.
Ah, yes. An outside vagina.
If you want to check out more of our stuff, go to www.dumbcoolweird.com. You'll find our Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and Patreon link if you want to support us. Also, be sure to check out our merch store. And if you're interested in being on our podcast, you can find a link on our website so you can reach out to us and tell us if you want to talk to us about something that's really weird, dumb, or cool. We'd be glad to hear from you. Hope you will stay tuned for the next weird ass episodes we got. Thank you.